Hello, Christopher.
Well, hello there.
And hello to our Bar Harbor Music Festival online audience. Welcome to our pre-concert discussion about Christopher Johnson's upcoming online recital, Friday, July 3rd at 8 p.m.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Now, Christopher, this is your 24th season with the Bar Harbor Music Festival, isn't it?
Yeah, we get old fast, don't we?
Well, I'd better take this opportunity to thank you for introducing me to the Bar Harbor Festival and to Francis Fortier and Deborah Fortier. Working with Francis has been wonderful for me. He's a fantastic mentor, and every time I spend time with him, I feel like I learned something. And you actually had the experience of touring with Francis as a violin and piano duo. That must have been great for you. What did you learn from Francis during that time?
Well, I just wouldn't be the person I am today if it weren't for Francis and the Bar Harbor Music Festival. Francis has this uncanny ability to bring a sense of magic to any given situation. He could be talking about a trip to the post office, standing in line. I mean, how mundane is that? And he could make it sound like the most exciting thing in the world. Musically, there are just so many things. I'll mention just two. He would encourage me to prepare in advance. Suffer sooner, he would say. More lead time is always better than cramming. He would also encourage me to go for the big pieces. As a lover of baseball, Francis would say, don't let a third strike go by. If you're gonna strike out swinging. And in my humble opinion, Francis never struck out.
Well, he certainly was a very exciting and passionate performer. And I just learned so much about the extremes of emotion that can be brought to a performance. And I guess that's pretty relevant for Beethoven, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So why don't you tell us about your program?
Indeed, I'm very excited to celebrate 250 years of Beethoven with one of my favorite piano sonatas, the Opus 31, number 3 in E-flat major. Beethoven was the first major composer to always think of himself as an artist, as a creator. Not Haydn, not Mozart, but Beethoven always wrote for the future. He wrote for all eternity. The sonata, Opus 31, number 3, has 4 brilliant movements with no real slow movement. And yet, it is not the severe Beethoven one might expect, but rather, he opens with a question. And he seems to answer this with another question. And still, at this point, there is a sense of mystery. We don't know where we are or where we are going. Only to come back to the question. But what's different here is the register. And here's where it's so wonderful to play all of the Beethoven sonatas. They're like miniature symphonies on the piano. When we hear it the first time, I could orchestrate this. I'm imagining a beautiful solo oboe over some strings, maybe a French horn. And notice we hear that motive twice. When I'm playing it the second time, I'm already contemplating the question I just asked. When he has it up here, to have that same beautiful, loving, tender quality, it has to be the flute. Definitely the flute, because the oboe would be just a tad too strident. So moving right along, the third time we get question and answer. Notice the elegance, the charm. Oh, didn't see that one coming. So here we see Beethoven was a great pianist. We can hear the Mozartian perfection in the writing. With the second theme, he continues with this Mozartian perfection. But then he does this. So we can also see that Beethoven has a sense of humor. That is, when he wants to. Then he does this. Oh, what a gentleman. Oh, my goodness. The moments are few and far between when Beethoven could be a real gentleman, but wow, there's one of them. And then he pretends to be lost. It's funny. Where am I? I don't know. Where am I? Where am I? Oh, here we go. So that is how this movement is. One of my favorite parts. Near the end of the exposition, he states something the same way 3 times. I don't think any other composer before or after could get away from that. Usually the first 2 times are away. The 3rd time has to be different. Otherwise it would be boring or something. Not Beethoven, he has this. Now with regard to feeling, that could be both positive or negative. If I say, I told you to do this. I told you to do this. I told you to do this. Well, that sounds kind of negative. But we already see with this movement, it's about genuine happiness and elegance and charm and all the good things. So it's more like, have you ever been at one of those parties and the MC says, are we having a good time? Are we having a good time? I don't hear you. Are we having a good time? Okay. So it's more like that, except for one crucial thing. And that brings us to one of Beethoven's hallmark features, his dynamics. Never before, never after. It's so unnatural. If you have crescendo, crescendo, every other composer, it would be forte. What does Beethoven do? It's loud, 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 soft. It's so hard to do and so unnatural. Let me show you first what a mundane composer would do. 3 times. So then I start the passage forte. But Beethoven, loud, 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 right here in the music. So it's like this. Here's what he really wrote. So it's unbelievable. And these things happen all the time in the movement. And if it's just for that, to hear his dynamics and how strange and unnatural, but great they are, that's a reason to come on this Friday, July 3rd, to the program. So Allison, do you want to hear one of my favorite parts with the onset of the development? Should I talk about that a little bit?
Huh.
Well, we've had the exposition. We've heard all the genuine happiness, the charm, the elegance. Okay. And then we get to experience the miracle of thematic transformation. So this theme, so loving, it's going to transform into something quite different. Oh my gosh. So we have 4 bars of something that seems severe, angry, even scary. Could it be we're finally going to get that severe, almost tragic Beethoven, even scary? Not really. This is what he does. And for me personally, this comes to mind. I was flying to Tampa International Airport on a tour, and it was a rocky flight to begin with. So we were ready to land, and the pilot comes on, says what he always says. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We are about to make our final descent into the Orlando International Airport, and everybody goes, oh. And then a second of silence, and then he says, just kidding. Who does that? Well, Beethoven does that here. Let's listen. Just kidding. And the rest of the development assumes this tone, mysterious, charming tone. So that's the first movement. Do you want to hear about the second movement?
Yeah, what about the Scherzo?
Yeah, the second movement is not the typical adagio or andante, but it's a scherzo. Scherzo means joke. It's funny and animated. But let me turn to it here. Who ever heard of a scherzo in 2/4? The scherzo is an outgrowth of the minuet, which is in 3/4, and then it gets faster. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. By the time Chopin writes scherzi, it's in 1, 1, 1, 1. But there is no way you can divide 2 into 3 and get a whole number. Just never happened. So this is one of a kind. This is in 2/4, 2 and 1 and 2 and 1. And notice those little forzandi on the end of 2, those little jolts of electricity that Beethoven provides, a little edge to it that didn't happen before Beethoven. Okay. And then there are shocking surprises. So here we are in A flat major, and he's pianissimo. By this time in music history, pianissimo was as soft as it got, and fortissimo was as loud as it got. So if he did this, and then loud, that would already be a shock. But that's not what Beethoven writes. Here's what he writes. Not only dynamically, but harmonically. Oh my gosh, we didn't see that coming. Then he goes here. When this happens again in the recap, we're already expecting that he's going to go from here to this, but he doesn't do that either. He surprises us yet again, and we get and then he takes us there. So it's full of surprises, a blend of the unexpected and that certain sense of inevitability, as if the music itself has a will of its own. After the scherzo, we have the golden minuet. That's what I call it, the golden minuet, because never again would Beethoven write a traditional minuet like this in the piano sonata genre. This is it. This is it. And notice the golden tone I'm going to try. Right there, do you notice? One of those unnatural things, even in the lyrical sense. La, la, la. And it's funny, almost nobody does that, ladies and gentlemen. Almost nobody does that. So we will try on Friday, July 3rd. And then he ends with a presto, wild tarantella. He gets so wacky, he's just in such a good mood that every time he does the theme, he starts it twice. I'm not kidding, I'm not having a memory slip. He does this. And then he starts it again. So he's just being funny and wacky, and then we get the dance. Also, it was written about Beethoven. He wasn't the prodigy that Mozart was, but he worked and he worked and he worked. And guess what? He became a pianist with speed and power that no one else before him had. And you see evidence of that in all these movements, but especially the last movement. And that's not even the crazy part. That's just the exposition. The crazy stuff, I'll wait. Well, we can wait till July 3rd. I will just say this. He keeps us guessing until the very end. And have you ever been at one of those parties where everyone's having so much fun, it actually becomes dangerous? That's what happens here. He takes us right up into that point, right to the precipice, the edge of the cliff. We don't go over the cliff, right to the edge, and we can see everything before our eyes. Right to that point. It's just about to get dangerous. And then a few final twists. He keeps us guessing. Something to see July 3rd. So that's one of my favorite Beethoven piano sonatas. The Opus 31, number 3 in E flat major. Allison?
Well, I think it might be one of my favorites now too, that I've learned so many interesting details about it. It's really wonderful how you can find all these details in the music and explain them to us. So thanks for doing this. And what
And
else?
I should say that, and also I'll add, this piano sonata is so unique. For example, the Moonlight Sonata, Opus 27, number 2, was the most difficult thing he wrote up until that point in time. And then with this sonata, if you consider all 4 movements, he goes beyond that. But moreover, Beethoven was very conscious that he never wanted any 2 piano sonatas alike. Even if he would do the first 3, these are for Joseph Haydn, Opus 2, number 1, 2, 3, F minor, A major, C major. They are completely different. So there are no 2 sonatas exactly alike. It's unbelievable.
Wow. Okay, well, how about what's on the rest of the program?
Then this is something else that Francis taught me. And boy, is it true here. He said, Christopher, you need a change of color, something different, really different. And that's where Deborah Fortier's pieces are just perfect, following this Beethoven. Deborah wrote Dream Waltz and Split Rock Falls. The Dream Waltz is a beautiful evocation where Deborah captures the dream state. So here's what I mean by that. If I play the first 4 measures of Dream Waltz as an ordinary, beautiful waltz, it's something like this. Here's measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. Well, that doesn't sound so bad. That sounds quite lovely if you ask me. But that's not what Deborah wrote. She wrote something even more beautiful. Here's what she really wrote. Oh, wow. How do we get there? So measure 4 is a gentle surprise. And it's just like this. Have you ever had one of those dreams where you're in New York City and then all of a sudden you're in Paris and you have no idea how you got there? And you're not freaking out or anything, you're just there. In real life, that never happens. We know how we got there. We took a plane, a train, a boat, we walked, we biked. Not a dream. So we could just be in 1 second somewhere totally different. And there are many of these beautiful moments in this piece. It really is a gem. And wow, what a change of color after the Beethoven. It's just perfect. Then, following the Dream Waltz, we have Split Rock Falls. Now this is exciting to see and hear because it's a world premiere. Never been done live before. So this will be the first time. In Split Rock Falls, Deborah makes tonality fresh. And here's what I mean. To keep things simple, 99% of all the music we've heard over the last 300-400 years, it's either in major or minor. 1% of music is either atonal or something different. And a lot of this work lies in that domain of something different. So to keep it simple, we have 12 major keys and 12 minor keys. And the minor version of it is just 3 shades darker. Okay, what if we had something just 2 shades darker? So not quite as dark as the minor, but 2 shades darker than the major. So here's D minor, and here is, they call it D Dorian. So, wow. So we get the minor third, but not that B flat in there. We get minor third, raised 6th. Wow, less than 1% of the music uses this mode. What would that possibly sound like? Well, here's the opening of Split Rock Falls. So there we have it. It's in the Dorian mode, a lot of it. Other parts of it are in the Lydian mode. So it's so fresh. These modes have not been explored a whole lot. And that's how the piece is in many places. And it so beautifully captures the wonders of nature, including that intrinsic kinetic energy within nature, even the turbulence, all of it. So that's a world premiere on July 3rd.
And there's one more piece on the program?
That's right. One more piece. I think you all know that one, The Stars and Stripes Forever. July 3rd is the day before our Independence Day holiday, so there we go. And the Vladimir Horowitz transcription even gets the piccolo part in it. So I don't have to play that now. We have to save something for the show. But I will just say this, that ladies and gentlemen, we will go out with a bang.
Well, thank you so much, Christopher. I always love hearing you talk about music. So audience, just come back to the Bar Harbor Music Festival page Friday, July 3rd at 8 p.m. Christopher will be playing his recital live. These broadcasts are free to the public from the Bar Harbor Music Festival, but as the associate director, I do have to remind you that these are difficult times. The festival, is suffering some losses from the cancellation of our in-person season, so we would appreciate your donations to all of our performances. And you can see our online schedule at our website, barharbormusicfestival.org. Thanks again, Christopher, and also, Christopher, you're going to have another recital this summer online.
Yes, the 24th of July, with 2 pieces by Gary Eskel, another premiere, and Beethoven's Appassionata. But let's not get into that. Let's just get through this recital, because this has so many wonderful things to listen for and see. So I do want to thank Francis and Debbie so much for all they do. And of course, I want to thank Allison Kiger, our host, for all she does to make things happen.
Well, this has been great. And I'll see you again, and I'll see you on Friday.
Can't wait.
Okay, enjoy your day. We'll see you.